Are grappling with a dilemma that so many people have faced these past few weeks. How do you reconcile your love for someone with the revelation that they have behaved badly?
By now, you've probably seen that clip. Savannah Guthrie announcing yesterday on the Today Show that her co-anchor, Matt Lauer, was fired from NBC News. And she asked the very important question, how do you reconcile your love for someone with the revelations that they have behaved badly?
We want to remind you that we are live on Facebook right now, so you can join this conversation with us. And here to help answer that question is Tim Bono, Assistant Dean in Psychology at Washington University. Tim, we thank you for your time this morning.
My pleasure.
And Tim, let's start right there. So someone you love or know has been accused of sexual harassment. How do you respond? How do you handle that?
Yeah, there can certainly be a lot of conflict there because on the one hand, if this is someone who you've known for a long time, who you've had a relationship with, who you admire and love, you now have to cope with the fact that you have this information that they've done something really bad, which means that you have all of these new emotions around disgust or frustration or disappointment that now are going to coexist with those other emotions of love and concern that you still have for that individual. So I would say that in a situation like this, it's appropriate when the time feels right to confront that individual and to be open and honest about the full array of emotions that you are experiencing. Let them know how hurt you are as a result of their behavior. Let them know how disappointed you are, how disgusted you are, but it's also appropriate to let them know that you still love that person and that you still care about them, because continuing to love someone, continuing to care about someone who you've always loved and cared about is not the same as condoning their behavior. You can still hold them accountable and let them know how upset you are, and also that you still love them and care about them and are willing to walk with them during this difficult time.
That's really good advice, Tim. I want to ask you, is this a generational thing? Because most of the powerful men that we have seen getting fired or out in the public with these accusations are older men. Do you see this as being generational, where, you know, back in their day, this was maybe more accepted and okay? And is that changing today?
Well, that certainly could be a part of it. We know that there were different standards about what kind of behavior was acceptable now, that nowadays people are perhaps more willing to call out and draw attention to, and people are more willing and have more platforms to take a stand and to share when they feel that something is not appropriate and not okay. So I think that the awareness that we have today is empowering people to come forward and talk about these things in a way that may not have been acceptable or seemed appropriate in the past.
Interesting statement last week by the Girl Scouts of America, basically saying, do not advise your young girls to go up and hug relatives because they love them or they were given a present or something like that. Basically saying you don't want to have to equate that to owing somebody something as they get older in life. Do you agree with this?
Well, if it's a relative who you know and who you trust, I think that hugging someone is actually a very important way to encourage that bond between them. But I understand the spirit of what that message is, but I think that it's not something that we should say. Personally, I'm not sure that I would endorse that you should not hug a relative, but I think it is important to educate young people about what kind of contact, what kind of touching is appropriate and what's not, with whom. But if it's your grandma did something nice for you and you want to give her a hug, go ahead and give her a hug.
And to close on that, Tim, you know, I think parents are grappling with this. You know, people watched Matt Lauer's for years. I mean, people grew up with Matt Lauer, so this is really heartbreaking and hard to really understand. How do parents, once they kind of come to terms with it, talk to their young girls and young boys who are at school every day, who will be growing up in this society?
Yeah, well, I think that it goes to the importance of collecting information about an individual and keeping open dialogue about what's going on, and also educating them about the fact that their behaviors will follow them and have consequences. And so it's important to understand that if they are tempted to do something, to think twice, because these things can have some serious consequences that they'll have to pay for.
All right, thank you, Tim. I appreciate you being here.